I watched Matt Walsh's movie, Am I a Racist? So that you don't have to. I'm just kidding. For those that do not know, the movie is directed by Justin Folk. It's a satire, social experiment type of vibe. It pretty much talks about like the missteps when it comes to DEI. It is satire. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna unravel it. Throughout the movie, Matt Walsh, he pretty much interviews anti-racist activists, advocates, professionals, and he's attending these seminars, and within the seminars he's learning how to not be racist. I want y'all to keep in mind, some of these seminars he is in a disguise, probably one of the worst disguises I've ever seen. But in one seminar in particular, he wasn't in a disguise, and they actually found out who he was after. There are 4 scenes within the movie that I really want to go over and pretty much just give you my opinion and my view about the movie. I will say, if you are interested in watching the movie, go in with an open mind, because if you don't, you're going to be really annoyed. Like, going in, I went in with an open mind. I was like, okay, let me watch this, because I know he had a previous film, Am I a Woman? I have yet to actually watch it. I started it, but I'm not gonna lie, I fell asleep. But I am going to allocate time to actually watch it. There's one scene in particular which I call like the book author scene. It's an interview he did with a woman named Robin DiAngelo. DiAngelo, she became very popular. She has a book called White Fragility. It is actually a bestseller. I am not one to count people's pockets, but allegedly she made a lot of money off of this book. I personally have not read the book, but it is pretty much summarized as a book that assigns white Americans collective guilt for the sins of like past events, and it talks about why people may not be receptive to progressive ideas. And so he does this interview with her, and we're gonna unravel this, because this is some tea. This is an article that I actually want to read to y'all. So DiAngelo, she issued a statement actually after the movie came out, because apparently she was not fully aware of the concept of the interview, which I actually believe her on that, because when you watch the interview, you can tell she was kind of like, what is going on? So DiAngelo, she issued a statement explaining how Walsh's representative contacted her under false pretense, paid her $15,000, 15 USD. Yes, he actually puts that in the movie. Every person he sits down with, he shows how much he pays. There was one woman in particular, he paid her $50,000 allegedly, according to the movie, for a sit down. I don't know if y'all remember the Disney Channel princess situation that went down, but he paid her 50 grand to sit with her. DiAngelo later learned that she had been tricked into appearing in his new movie, Am I a Racist, and paying reparations to his black producer who was in on the joke. So in this particular scene, they are discussing about reparations. And so Matt Walsh invites one of his producers onto the set. Mind you, Matt Walsh and the producer, they're in on this. They are in on this. The producer, he's black. I think he's like half black or full black, whatever the case may be, but he's black. Matt Walsh pretty much ask him, okay, his thoughts on reparations, etc. And so the producer is like, going along with it. He speaks about reparations a little bit, and Matt Walsh pulls out his wallet. Matt Walsh pulls out his wallet. I think he had like $5 in ones or $7 in ones, and he gives it to him. He said, I'm sorry, that this is all I have. Like, mind you, the producer is in on it. And so DiAngelo, she's sitting there. She's like kind of confused. She was like, I don't think this is how reparations are supposed to happen. And reparations, it's systematic. Like, we don't just pull out cash and give them, money for reparations. Matt Walsh turns it around on her and he says, are you telling a black person how they should feel or how they should be receiving reparations off of what you've done wrong, essentially? It's kind of like flipping the script. And she's like, no, I'm not trying to, you can see the uncomfortableness. Black producer says, I'm never going to deny money. DiAngelo actually gets up from her seat. She goes in her wallet. She pulls out $30 in cash and gives it to him as a form of reparations. When I tell you this whole scene, this scene and another scene that I'm going to talk about later, I was like, is this real? Is this real? I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh my gosh. So DiAngelo in this article, she speaks about, when I arrived for the interview, a few things fell off. When you watch the movie, or if you choose to watch the movie, you can tell like a few things were off. You could tell like she felt like things were off. The grips would not make eye contact with me, and the interviewer, who was introduced as Matt, appeared to be wearing an ill-fitting wig. Matt, get rid of that wig, please. Matt presented himself as someone new to anti-racist work and seemed earnest, and his questions did not come across as adversarial. Didn't come off as adversarial. Hold on, guys. I promise I have a degree. I know how to read. I'm gonna get this word right. Because it's adversary, but I'm trying to see adversarial. Oh.
Adversarial.
I said it right. It just didn't sound right when it came out of my mouth. By the end, however, things got weird. She wrote in a statement on her website, "I was so unsettled by the way Matt manipulated this last scene that I emailed the contact person, who went by the name of Lee Hampton, to explain that this scene was not an example of reparations and could mislead viewers," which is true. I was kind of like, okay, oh my gosh, like, what are they doing? I asked that they not use it in the film and shared several resources overviewing legitimate systemic efforts for reparation, D'Angelo wrote. "So after reviewing the sequence of events and discussing it with colleagues, I realized that they had lied about their agenda and I had been played," she added. D'Angelo further explained how she was deceived and referred people to the left-wing Southern Poverty Law Center's profile. If you decide to see the movie, you're going to see it play out right in front of your face. It was very uncomfortable. Not even uncomfortable. It was very like, I was giving side eye. I understand Matt Walsh was like acting in a sense because it is a social experiment, not a movie. But I was so surprised when D'Angelo pulled out the $30. I was like, girl, do not play into this. What are you doing? And it's crazy because it's actually being reported D'Angelo is facing allegations that she plagiarized parts of her dissertation by ripping off passages from multiple scholars without properly citing them. Two of the scholars D'Angelo allegedly plagiarized from are minorities, despite her professed belief that white people should always give credit to minorities for their ideas. Something that I noticed throughout the movie, this is why I keep saying go in with an open mind. Matt Walsh, when you watch it, you're going to see he exposed how people capitalize off of other people's struggle. Like, he exposed it really, really bad. Like, he exposed how people are capitalizing off of racism, off of DEI, off of all of that, like specifically white people. And it's crazy because he even said, there was one point in the movie where he said, "Is there anything as a white man that I can do to unracist myself?" And this was the scene, I think the library scene, I forgot what scene it was, but the lady had said, "You are technically grandfathered in." Oh, I think this was a one-on-one seminar. That's neither here or there. She pretty much said, "You are technically grandfathered in. There's nothing you can do to make yourself not racist." And so he was pretty much saying, like, from a position of, okay, if there's nothing I could do to make myself unracist, then where do we go from here? Like, what do we do? And that's still a question I'm still trying to figure out. Like, where do we go from here? The second scene that I want to talk about, this was a circle therapy scene. This scene was probably the most popular scene, in my opinion. This scene was funny. He does not disguise himself, but he disguises his name. I forgot what name he went by. I forgot what name he went by, but he was getting side eyes throughout the therapy session. I don't know why I'm calling it therapy session, but it really, really gave AA meetings. So they were like sitting in a circle talking about racism. So he didn't disguise himself. He disguised his name. He was getting side eyes. He was doing a lot. I'm not gonna lie. He was doing a little bit too much. I'm like, dude, you just blew your cover. Prior to the session, the woman, she says, "Okay, if you need to take an emotional break, this is a very heavy topic. Please step out to the next room." Yada yada yada. So Matt Walsh, he's like acting it out. He's like, okay, I need to step to the next room. He takes an emotional break, and when he steps out to the next room, they start doing research. They pull out their phones. They're like, I know who this man is. Like, he looks so familiar. They find out it's Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh comes back in. The whole mood changes. The woman asks, "Is there something you need to tell us?" And he's saying, "No, what's going on?" So they figure out, he comes and he pretty much turns himself in a sense. He says, okay, I am Matt Walsh. I'm just trying to figure out how to undo my racism. And so they kick him out because of his trolling, ultimately. I do think in a lot of these scenes, Matt Walsh really, I understand the entertainment portion of it, but he really dropped the ball in some of these scenes. I'm just like, some of these scenes he really could have gained good, thorough conversation, but I understand they came in there with a plan and an agenda, and he did say in the front of the movie, it does say social experiment, not documentary, so I had to keep that in mind. They kick him out, and one woman in particular said, I am now in fear of my life, like something along the lines of that. Mind you, this is a room full of white people and one black woman. The black woman, she's the one that's doing or hosting the sit down or the gathering. We teach them how to unracist themselves. So these women, this white woman in particular, she says, I am in fear for my life. And when she said that, that really ticked me off. I'm not going to lie, that ticked me off, because that's something that I don't know if it's like, I don't know why that is such a common thing to say in certain people's vocabulary, but it's just like, you can't say stuff like that so lightly. It is so annoying. It is so annoying. Another scene that I want to talk about was the women's dinner scene. So there's these two women. They were actually on Dr. Phil. They host dinners pretty much with white women. You have to be a white woman to sit there. You can't be a white male. You can't be a man. You can't be like just white women to talk about how to not necessarily unracist yourself, but to talk about how you can utilize your privilege to make life more equitable in a sense. I personally, I'm not gonna lie, I still don't know the point of the dinners. Like, I don't know if it was like a workshop or whatever, but these dinners, since Matt Walsh was not able to be part of the dinner, he disguised himself as a waiter. So he's waitering the dinner or whatever. He's going in and out, listening to their conversation. There's some things, this scene, I'm not gonna lie, it made those two women look kind of bad. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. And I say that because within the dinner, they're talking about like, they're talking to white women saying like, oh, y'all always laugh at your own jokes. Y'all do this, y'all do that. Like pretty much demonizing white women. Mind you, I'm not here being an advocate for white women. I'm not. But like, I don't see how any of them stayed in that dinner and continued to sit down. And they paid for this. They paid to sit down with them. They pay to learn these techniques. And just some of the stuff they were saying, I'm just like, yo. The scene pretty much ends with him. He drops a few plates. He sits down or invites himself to the conversation. They pretty much try to tell him like, okay, you getting too comfortable type of vibe. But yeah, that scene was just very interesting to me, mainly because just to see them pretty much talk so badly about white women in front of white women, and the white woman didn't do anything. I'm just like, bro, I wish somebody would talk about black women in front of me. And I mean, I'm not saying they have to fight, but I'm just saying like, physical violence isn't the answer, but like defend yourself. Like, good golly gee. Something that was so common within a lot of these scenes with the white people, they were okay with being a punching bag. They were okay with being a punching bag. I think that there is a responsible way to navigate conversations when it comes to racism. But it's just like, at some point, it's just like, you are sitting there being a punching bag. I'm just like, yo, what is going on? This last scene, y'all, when I say, like, even in my notes right now, I just wrote with this last scene, very controversial. Very controversial. I think Matt Walsh and Daily Wire, they really, I'm surprised they kept it in, because they were in a scene. They were pretty much, this was towards the end, Matt Walsh, he's learned all these mechanisms. He got his certificate of DEI advocacy, whatever the case may be. Now he's ready to do a seminar. So it's filled with white people, obviously, mind you. Keep in mind, white people are the ones attending these seminars. He does this seminar, and one of the scenes, he's like, I want y'all to get your number, like they all have a number, and put it on the scale. How racist are you? He even asked in the beginning, he was like, if you can point out who do you think is the most racist in the room, 2 people leave. After he asked that question, 2 people walk out and left, which I'm like, thank you. I would have left him like, you're not gonna ask me who I think is the most racist? I mean, I wouldn't even attend something like that, but still. So that seminar is going on. He's pushing the line. This part in particular is where I'm like, I'm surprised they really did this. I feel like they were trying to prove a point. But I'm like, yo. Towards the end, brings out whips. The whips they used back in slavery and paddles. Like, and the point of that conversation, or the point of him bringing out, he said that we are going to, I forgot the word they used, but this is me summarizing it. They are going to self-inflict. Like the harm that their people caused on black people historically, they are now going to self-inflict. And he's passing around the whips. First 2 or 3 people actually like willingly get the whip. I'm like, bro, my theater was pretty much empty. It was only me and 3 other people, the person I came with and these 2 other people. They willingly take the whip. Like, I promise you, if they continued the scene, they would have been in there whipping each other with the slavery whip. That's how ridiculous it was. I'm like, bro, what is going on? So they take the whip, and then he goes to the second row to pass it around. Matt Walsh, he stops himself. He was like, okay, this is going too far. Mind you, he is playing a role. I don't think he actually was going to have them like whip each other, but he's like, this is going way too far. This seminar is over. Y'all are free to leave. Like, he takes the whip back and everything like that. And that scene right there, that really, like, I couldn't believe it. I don't think they should have put that in there. I think it was kind of insensitive for Matt Walsh and Daily Wire to have that scene in there. But it made me realize, like, yo, these white people are living in a level of guilt that they're willing to whip each other. I'm like, I don't even know if it's guilt. Maybe it's like, I don't know, what do you want to call it? But it is ridiculous. Like, this has gotten really ridiculous. Overall, the concept of the movie was not that bad. It was not that bad. The main thing with me that I didn't like was the satire, because it was almost like comical for them, making a joke, because whether you want to admit it or not, everyone has different experiences in different parts of this country. So to just take like certain experiences that people use and manipulate and try to capitalize off of racism and try to paint that as if that's the entire experience of every single person in this country, I felt like that was dishonest. I do understand where they were going when it came to like a lot of the dialogue, because it's almost like he was trying to say, like, you're putting a lot of these white people, you're putting white people in general, like, in a corner. It's like they can never do well. They can never do right. You're telling them to undo their racism, but in the same breath, you're saying they can never undo their racism because they're grandfathered into a system. So I understand that part, but I do think some of the parts, I do think they missed a lot of opportunities to like engage the conversation more. And I think that those missed opportunities came from just the fact that it was supposed to be more so satire, social experiment, comical, you know, have a little laugh here and there. I don't know if he's the person to do it. I would probably love to see somebody that's more independent to make it happen. But I would love to see more of a documentary base in regards to like why racism is a topic of conversations, like to really get to the root of it, because it's just like, I feel like his was very surface level based. I think when it comes to racism, a lot of people are either dismissive of it, or because they feel like vast majority of Americans don't experience racism, it's not a big enough topic to talk about. Like, ultimately, when it comes to racism, whether you believe it still exists or not, I don't think it's something to take away from other people's realities. Me personally, I still think racism exists. I think saying racism doesn't exist is like saying we live in a fallen world. Like, to think racism doesn't exist, it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. And you may not have experienced racism, but your personal experience is not the reality of the rest of Americans. I personally truly believe racism still exists. I believe bigotry still exists. These are all components of what it is to live in a fallen world. So to dismiss the notion, oh, okay, racism doesn't exist, it's just like, so you're telling me there's no racists left in this country? Be for real. Overall, if I were to give it a scale out of 10, I'll probably give it like a 6.7, because it's like a lot of things, like, I feel like sometimes they missed the point. That's just my opinion. I will say, if you want to watch it, just make sure you watch it with an open mind, because if you're really, really left and you're going in watching it and you're just like, you're going to roll your eyes like throughout the whole thing. And if you're really, really right and you go in watching it, you're just going to be in there like, yay, cheering, he can never do nothing wrong. Like, just go in there with an open mind, take your personal views and value, take your personal feelings aside and just, you know, see how it goes. Let me know your thoughts on the comments down below. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you're notified whenever I post a new video. Follow me on my social media. I love y'all all. God bless y'all. This is Udo at Connecting People with Policy. Toodles!